Nadia first noticed the silence during dinner. Aaron was talking about his day, the same way he always did, measured, calm, efficient. He described meetings, deadlines, minor annoyances. He sounded normal. Too normal. When he finished, he smiled and asked, "And you?" Nadia opened her mouth, then closed it again. She couldn't remember the last time she told him something that mattered. Not because she didn't have anything to say. Because the effort no longer felt real. It happened on a Tuesday night. Nadia brought up something small, a bill paid late, a promise postponed. Aaron listened patiently, nodded, apologized. They went to bed quietly. The next morning, Aaron kissed her goodbye and said, "I'm glad we don't fight like other couples." Nadia froze. "We argued last night." Aaron frowned slightly. "No, we didn't. You apologized." "I apologize for lots of things," he said gently. "That doesn't mean we argued." He left for work before she could respond. The apartment felt rearranged after that. Not physically, emotionally. As if a piece of shared reality had been moved without her consent. Nadia started writing things down. Dates. Words. Tone. Not obsessively. Just enough to reassure herself. When she mentioned one of these moments later, Aaron would listen, tilt his head, and say, "That doesn't sound like me." At first, she defended herself. Then she started doubting the notes. They sounded dramatic when reread. Nadia invited Aaron's sister, Claire, over for dinner. During dessert, Nadia casually mentioned a vacation they'd all taken years ago, the argument on the ferry, the long silence afterward. Claire looked confused. "That never happened," she said. Aaron didn't react. Later that night, Nadia asked him, "Did you tell her to say that?" He looked genuinely surprised. "Tell her what?" "That it never happened." He considered this. "Nadia," he said softly, "why would I do that?" She had no answer that didn't sound unreasonable. Aaron began using new phrases. "You've always been sensitive about memory. You tend to personalize neutral things. You remember emotions, not events." He said them kindly, reassuringly, almost professionally. Nadia noticed she was apologizing more. Not for actions. For perceptions. Nadia started therapy alone. She described the situation carefully, afraid of sounding dramatic. The therapist listened, then asked, "When you feel certain about something, what happens next?" Nadia answered honestly. "Eventually, I stop feeling certain." The therapist nodded. "That's important." Nadia stopped going after 3 sessions. She couldn't explain why. One night, Nadia told Aaron something false. A small lie. She said he'd forgotten their anniversary the previous year. He looked surprised. Defensive. Hurt. "That never happened," he said immediately. She waited. 2 days later, he said, "I've been thinking. Maybe I did forget. I'm sorry." Her chest tightened. The lie had been accepted. Rewritten. Stored. Nadia asked him directly, "Do you ever change your memories?" Aaron didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "Memory is collaborative." "What does that mean?" "It means the version that survives is the one both people agree to keep. And if one person doesn't agree?" He smiled gently. "Then the relationship doesn't survive." Nadia tried to remember who she had been before Aaron. She struggled. Not because she couldn't remember facts, but because those memories felt less reliable now. Like photographs that had been edited too many times. She began recording voice notes for herself. Listening to them felt like hearing a stranger. When Nadia finally said, "I think something is wrong with us," Aaron didn't deny it. "I think you're tired," he said. "I think you need space. I think we should separate," she said carefully. Aaron nodded, relieved. "Yes," he said. "You've been unhappy for a long time." She stared at him. "I never said that." He smiled, almost sadly. "You don't remember everything you say." Months later, Nadia ran into Aaron by chance. He looked well. he asked. Are you happier now? She hesitated. I don't know, she said truthfully. He nodded. I thought so. As he walked away, Nadia realized something chilling. She couldn't tell whether she'd escaped manipulation, or whether she had simply failed to prove it. Aaron noticed the quiet first. Not the absence of Nadia, that came later, but the change in how the apartment sounded. The refrigerator hum felt louder. Footsteps echoed longer. He told himself this was normal. Breakups always rewired spaces. What unsettled him was how calm he felt. He had expected grief, or anger, or relief strong enough to notice. Instead, there was only efficiency. When people asked why the marriage ended, Aaron gave a consistent answer. She wasn't happy. It wasn't a lie. It was an interpretation. He said it gently, without blame, and people nodded. Some even said they had sensed it. Aaron stored those reactions carefully. They mattered. One evening, while sorting old documents, Aaron found a notebook. Nadia's handwriting. Dates. Notes. Fragments of conversations. He read slowly. Some entries described arguments he did not remember at all. Others described moments he remembered differently. A few described things he was certain never happened. He closed the notebook. Memory, he reminded himself, was not evidence. For the first time, Aaron felt something close to unease. Not guilt. Uncertainty. He replayed certain moments in his head, conversations where Nadia had looked at him as if he were standing slightly out of frame. Had he dismissed too much? Or had she insisted too hard? There was no external measure for this. Only versions. At work, Aaron noticed something familiar. A colleague insisted a deadline had been changed verbally. No email. No record. Aaron calmly said, "That didn't happen." The colleague backed down within minutes. Aaron felt a small, automatic relief. Not satisfaction. Stability. Claire called him late one night. "Do you ever wonder," she asked carefully, "if you simplify things too much?" Aaron smiled to himself. "I make things manageable," he replied. "That's not what I asked?" He didn't answer. A memory surfaced unexpectedly. A childhood incident, two friends arguing over what had been said during a game. Aaron had been certain he was right. When the others disagreed, he'd felt something unbearable, chaos. His solution then had been simple. He stopped playing with them. The memory faded as quickly as it arrived. Aaron wondered briefly whether Nadia had been documenting their life because she felt erased. The thought made him uncomfortable. Not because it accused him, but because it suggested a failure of alignment. And misalignment, he believed, was the real danger in relationships. When Aaron ran into Nadia months later, her uncertainty unsettled him. She didn't accuse. She didn't explain. She simply existed without confirming his version. That was new. For the first time, Aaron felt the urge to correct her. To tell her what she was feeling. He resisted. Correction required participation. That night, alone, Aaron tried something he rarely did. He questioned his own memory. Not specific events, but the instinct to overwrite. He asked himself a simple question. If I were wrong, would I know? The answer did not come. Aaron turned off the light. Some questions, he had learned, were not useful. They created instability. And stability, above all else, was what kept relationships alive. Or ended them cleanly.